On the National Mall, history is etched in stone, steel, and marble. From Lincoln to Einstein, from soldiers to statesmen, join us as we explore some of its most iconic memorials, honoring the visionaries, leaders, and heroes who helped shape our nation.
Out in the distance, we have the U.S. Capitol building with the Washington Monument, the World War II Memorial, and the reflecting pool. Here from the steps of the memorial to Abraham Lincoln, our 16th president. Currently undergoing some refurb. We can go in and see him a little bit later. But the National Mall is sneakily big. It is 2 miles from end to end. So while everything is all together, it is a lengthy walk with Smithsonian museums and other monuments on either side. So you're looking about 4 miles to walk the circuit. But still a wonderful location with beautiful memorials.
The memorial to Honest Abe is always one of the most popular on the mall, with the imposing figure of Lincoln and some of his most iconic statements etched on the walls. However, at the time of filming, the memorial was undergoing renovations in preparation for a new underground exhibit and museum space, set to debut by the 250th anniversary of American independence, set for 2026. This situation cut off half of the front steps and severely congested foot traffic within the interior and on the steps. While I would anticipate crowds, what we encountered in this visit seems to be uniquely tied to the construction restrictions.
Here we are just off of the National Mall, and we have a memorial for Albert Einstein. Absolute genius. Many of us would aspire to be as smart as Albert Einstein was, but some of his many scientific achievements were, obviously he was brilliant, more brilliant than anyone that we could think of, but he also had a willingness to think outside the box and to alter the framework for how we see things. And if we see things from a different perspective or from a different mindset, then maybe we can discover new things. Einstein's theory of relativity was that same type of framework that changed how we see space-time, but it was much later that it was actually able to be experimentally confirmed. Just north of the National Mall, have the Washington Monument over here. We have a memorial to the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence. This here is called Constitution Gardens, this pond area over here. And there's a little island here in the middle. And in this memorial, again, one of the lesser known, lesser visited memorials, we have some inscriptions from the Declaration of Independence, as well as the signatures of the signers, their occupations, where they were from, what states they represented, down here. Another very pretty, lesser-known monument, memorial here in Washington, D.C., on the National Mall area. A lot of waterfowl around on the pond as well. Good day. One of the newer memorials in Washington, D.C., but newer as of 2004, so this is still 20 years old, the World War II Memorial. One of the absolutely most gorgeous memorials here in Washington, D.C., representing the greatest generation of both the Atlantic Theater and the Pacific Theater. The beautiful, fantastic fountains between the Lincoln Memorial, the U.S. Capitol, and the Washington Monument. Bas reliefs here depicting, on this side of the Atlantic Theater, similar reliefs on the other side depicting the Pacific Theater from the soldiers' point of view, some of their experiences. We got the sun peeking through, makes this absolutely stunning. Pearl Harbor, a date which will live in infamy. Famous words of Franklin D. Roosevelt. December 7, 1941. Here at the fountain of the Atlantic Theater, the locations of which the Atlantic Theater took the individual soldiers and the troops are found here. The great invocation of General Dwight D. Eisenhower just prior to the D-Day invasion of Normandy, June 6, 1944. There are wreaths all along on both sides that it depicts all of the states of the American territories at the time that had contributed troops and fought here in World War II, which, you will see Oklahoma and Arizona and Alaska, Puerto Rico, the Philippines, which was an American territory still, and the Virgin Islands here on this side. And on the other side here as well, on the Pacific Theater side. The Pacific Theater and the various locations, battles, regions of the Pacific Theater. Such a fantastic memorial. Here we mark the price of freedom. This World War II memorial is fascinating in so many ways, and it honors so many aspects of World War II. Both for the American soldiers, the foreign allies, as well as the American women and those others who had to step up to keep the American economy going, to keep the war effort going while the soldiers were overseas. But here, 4,048 stars on this wall, each star representing 100 soldiers that gave the ultimate sacrifice, who died or were missing during World War II. Fighting a war partly for American freedom, but partly also to liberate those overseas who were not Americans, but were being oppressed by tyranny. The ultimate measure of devotion for the greatest generation. On the outside of the National World War II Memorial, as I said, this memorial does so much to honor so many different aspects of World War II for the soldiers and those who gave of themselves. And here's another one. Tucked away, hidden in. Kilroy was here. There are actually two of these here hidden in the memorial. Became a running gag, if you would, throughout World War II. Soldiers across the world, across departments, to where the stories could be from inspectors, American inspectors, but then these little cartoons started popping up everywhere across the battlefields, on ships, etchings, drawings by the soldiers about Kilroy. And so even just the little things, honoring the soldiers and the GIs, like with Kilroy, just the tiniest little things, really brings about an honor and a memorial to the lives of those who gave every ounce that they had for freedoms. Beautiful, heartfelt, beautiful aesthetically, beautiful emotionally.
World War II Memorial also provides an opportunity for loved ones to interact by searching and updating the online registry. For more information, check the description or scan the QR code on the screen. Even though the National Mall is very walkable, its size catches a lot of tourists by surprise. About 2 miles end to end and nearly a third of a mile wide, there's a lot to see and explore, but there's also a lot of space. The western end contains most of the memorials and monuments, but there are some on the eastern side as well. But these take a bit of a stroll to get to, since they're immediately near the U.S. Capitol building, exactly opposite from the Lincoln Memorial.
Nice view of the U.S. Capitol building. Going down the National Mall. The Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial in the background. In the foreground is the memorial to Ulysses S. Grant, Civil War general, 18th President of the United States.
Not only was Ulysses S. Grant the final Union commander that accepted Robert E. Lee's surrender, ending the Civil War, but his entire career was one that sought other people groups as equals. Whether engaging with Native American tribes on the frontier, treating the Mexicans with care, dignity, and respect during the Mexican War of the 1840s, or seeking the best way to integrate former enslaved people into a post-Civil War America, Grant took his moral convictions and positions with him into the White House for 2 terms, from 1869 to 1877. The monument is also the largest equestrian monument in the United States. While Grant's time as president was littered with economic mishaps and corruption issues under his watch, Grant was responsible for integrating and upholding civil rights, creating the U.S. Justice Department to ensure equity among peoples, reuniting the nation between northern and southern factions, and strongly enforcing civil and voting rights for African Americans.
Here we have a memorial to one of America's lesser-known presidents. James A. Garfield was elected president in 1880. The 1880 election was the first, and I believe the only sitting member of the House of Representatives to be elected president at the time. He began his term in March of 1881 and sadly died in office in September of that same year of 1881. Though he didn't serve long, he was known to be an advocate for civil rights and an anti-corruption advocate as well. This young lad, staring off into the distance, gave a speech in 1945 at homecoming in Abilene, Kansas. This young man would be none other than Dwight Eisenhower, looking off at his future as a general and then as a president. Between the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum and the U.S. Department of Education building, a memorial to Dwight Eisenhower, the 34th President of the United States. This is the newest of the memorials near the National Mall, and this is actually another pretty memorial. It is lengthy, extensive, open air as well, and it's got some sculptures related to Eisenhower's time as president, his time as general, and his time as a young barefoot boy in Abilene, Kansas, is what he referred to himself when coming back to give a speech back in his hometown of Abilene. What you see behind the memorial, the screen, is actually, it's hard to tell right here, but when it gets lit up at night, it's actually the coastline of Normandy, commemorating his time planning the assault on the German front.
If you're interested in the tidal basin memorials like the Martin Luther King Memorial and Jefferson Memorial, be sure to check out our previous video where we explore those landmarks during the Cherry Blossom Festival. The National Mall is one of the most popular places to visit in the nation's capital, but beyond the most popular monuments, there are several hidden gems that often get overlooked. While Lincoln and Washington get most of the visitors, Constitution Gardens and the Eisenhower Memorial are wonderful additions, and the World War II Memorial is just breathtakingly beautiful and powerful. War memorials to the Vietnam, Korean, and World War I conflicts are also essential parts of the National Mall, and I encourage you to visit them as well. If you have a favorite memorial, let us know in the comments, and we'd love to hear from you. The outer borders of the National Mall are lined with popular Smithsonian museums, and there are plenty to choose from. Just hitting one or two of them could take an entire day, but we'll explore some of DC's best museums in the next video. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss this or our other video on DC's hidden gems when they come out as you plan your trip to Washington, D.C. So long for now, and we'll see you next time.
Here we are at the Dwight Eisenhower Memorial, and so we need to know, how was the restroom experience here at the memorial?
It was excellent. It's a very nice, clean restaurant.
That's good. Good to hear.
This water fountain, this water is actually really good.
Tasty
good
water.
taste
Good
buds.
taste city water?
Tester number 45. Yeah, surprisingly.
So you like Ike water? You like Ike water?
I like Ike water.